Well, hindsight is 2020, and it's very easy to say that, oh, that didn't make sense after some time has passed and you know the outcome of a certain thing. Now, I want to talk about Blonde Blazer, and I want to talk about why so many people felt that she was a villain, or really how Dispatch tricked you into thinking that Phenomaman and Blonde Blazer were actually villains. And, everything that has come out from Dispatch and everything that has happened since the release of the game kind of gives you an idea of what the developers behind Dispatch were thinking, where their head was at, how they treated these characters, and how they maybe just kind of looked at it as maybe some stuff wasn't planned, is kind of what I'm trying to get at. But when you look at Blonde Blazer, she seemed like this really good hero, this really like perfect type of the classic superhero. Now, I know that people get pissed off at me every time that I call Blonde Blazer perfect, but in terms of what a superhero is supposed to look like, she had the perfect look. She had that lightness and that calmness about her, that superhero stuff, and it made some people uncomfortable. Clearly, it made some people think she might be up to something. She might not be who she says she is. Now, I'll be honest with you. When I first met her, when I started playing the game, it was like love at first sight for me. I didn't even think twice about it. I had no idea. I did not think that she was going to be a villain at all. When I kiss her and she backs out, I said, oh, okay, we'll take it slow, my fault. And then when I met Phenomaman, I thought, oh, shit. Holy, what the fuck? Like, that was crazy to me. My mind was blown. I was kind of heartbroken. I was kind of like, what? That's crazy. And then you see Phenomaman coming, and he looks like this big ass Superman looking guy. He has that mustache like the Invincible character. We live in this age of the big good superhero is actually bad. This big badass hero is actually not good at all. He's fucking evil. He's a narcissist. He's a dick. He's going to kill you and murder you with no second thoughts. He believes he's better than you. And Phenomaman had that look to him. You look at Phenomaman and you just think he's maybe a self-centered asshole who doesn't really like what he's doing and he's just doing it to save face. And then you pair him up with Blonde Blazer, and she's supposed to be the girlfriend, and she lied to Mecha Man and she kissed him, or they kissed, and there's something weird going on here. Why didn't she mention him? Why didn't she say that? Why did she take him to the billboard where Mecha Man is? They might have been planning something, right? What are they planning? Then you have this Astropulse thing that's like, the Astropulse is this big thing that I need. Well, she's gonna help him build his suit. That means that he's gonna need to show the Astropulse. What if that's what they're after because of this or that? So it kind of made sense if you really look at it. Again, hindsight is 2020. Now you could say, well, no, none of that really made sense. But at the time it could have. And I think that Dispatch and the developers at adhoc, they did do some mind games here. I think they did want to trick you a little bit into thinking, could this be a bad situation? Could these characters be evil? Again, when you get these episodic releases, you don't really get the answers to things very quickly. And when you put a comic book behind a special edition, or you have to pay extra, some people aren't going to want to pay extra. Some people aren't going to want to buy the comics because they don't feel that it's worth it, or because of whatever other reason. Who cares? It's not our business. So they might not get that extra context. But if you maybe encourage them to, hey, look at this, it's kind of interesting, you might get a little bit of extra information if you get the comic. If you do that, it kind of piques your interest and you're like, okay, fuck it, I'll get the comic. It's only a few dollars more. I want to read what happens. And so on their Steam page, or on like their marketing page where they were showing the comics, they showed this image here. And you can see the 4 digital comics, 6 stories, 45 pages. So it's like, oh shit, you're seeing more characters from the Z team. You're seeing like, is that Mecha Man? And then you see Blonde Blazer, Phenomaman, out in the galaxy, like looking at a black hole maybe or something, and they're talking. Let's look at what it says. It says here, Blonde Blazer tells Phenomaman, and you can see this. This is one of the marketing ones. So you can't, if you've never seen the comic and you read this, you're like, oh, what's going on here? So Blonde Blazer says, so we're what? Still doing superhero work? And then Phenomaman says, that is my desire. Our lives are phenomenal. Bruh. And it's my hope that we can remain that way. So by having Blonde Blazer say, so what, we're doing superhero work, it makes you feel like these characters are in some sort of cahoots. They're in some sort of like maybe conspiracy. They're working together for something. Maybe they're pretending. Maybe they're not good. Maybe they're not heroes. And then, Phenomaman says something about until the day we both perish, presumably in the midst of an intergalactic conflict where a far superior species consumes us. So it's like, are these dudes crazy? Like, first of all, if you don't know Phenomaman, which at this point we didn't really know him, it's like, what the fuck is this guy saying? Is he crazy? Why is he talking like that? So you could take it as maybe they wanted to destroy the world, or maybe they wanted to kill the people of Earth, or maybe Blonde Blazer she's asking, we're still going to do superhero work? Maybe they're real villains. Maybe they're very powerful villains masquerading as heroes, and they infiltrated the SDN. Like, your mind can go so many places. So my thing is, because of this little tiny bit of artwork, this little tiny bit of comic book stuff that Adhoc shared, it piqued your interest and it tricked you into thinking that these people were bad. You give Phenomaman, this guy who's super powerful, one of the most powerful heroes on Earth. He's not even from Earth. He has this savage, mean look. He has this big old thick mustache. Kind of looks like the guy from Invincible again. You start thinking that dude's definitely bad. And then you have Blonde Blazer. Why is she with him? Why did she lie? Why is she being so mysterious? What does she mean we're still doing superhero work? Why does she look angry? You start putting all these things together and you're like, 100% she's evil, 100% he's evil. And then when you first meet Phenomaman, I'll be honest with you, I got a weird vibe from him. I thought he was very controlling. I thought he was very giving you like second or backhanded compliments. Like, he said, who is this? I thought I vetted everyone that you were going to interview. So it's like he was taking control of that. And I thought, oh yeah, this dude is fucking evil. This dude is going to kill me. Like, in a second, he's going to kill me. And in my head, I'm thinking, yo, I got to get this Mecha Man suit right because I got to fight this guy. He seems fucking crazy. But then when you really get to know Phenomaman, you realize that he's a little bit, what's the word here? He's a clown. He's a clown, and he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing sometimes. He's like, he doesn't really understand the human interaction as much. He's not very good dealing with people, so he'll say just kind of whatever's on his mind, and he's a funny character. He's a character who's like comedic relief, and then you realize that he's just a guy trying to figure life out. He feels like, scared sometimes, and he's just trying to live, bro. He's just a chill dude. And then you realize that when you get the full context of this conversation, that Blonde Blazer was talking to Phenomaman because she wanted to retire from superhero work. Not because she's evil, not because she's bad, not because she has this grand plan, but because she's tired. She wants to be Mandy. She wants to lay up on the couch and watch TV. She's dedicated so much of her life to being superhero that maybe she wants to do something different. Maybe she wants to start a family. She wants to retire. She doesn't want to die doing this. So you get the context, you see, and then it's like, oh, of course that makes sense. Of course that's what it was. Adhoc tricked you into believing these two characters were evil. Was that good or bad? I don't know. I think so, because it got the community talking and the fan base theorizing about a lot of different things. But now, some people might say, well, I knew from the get-go that she wasn't bad. Maybe that's fine, because in my opinion, I felt that same way. I didn't start questioning her. I didn't start thinking she was evil or bad until you guys started telling me that shit in the comments. I was like, oh, okay, maybe there's something here. But it's not as obvious as it is now. It was a very, serious conversation to have at the time, and it was something that got you thinking because of what I think Adhoc did, and I think they did it on purpose. Give Phenomaman this design of, yes, he looks like a hero, but he also looks like he could be bad. He also has these traits and characteristics of what we've seen in recent media, like Invincible and The Boys. So it kind of gave you this thing where it had your flag up. There were some red flags. And then when they share this little context of a conversation where Blonde Blazer is asking about superhero work, you're like, why would she ask that? When she runs the SDN, she's supposed to be this hero. Is everything she's saying a lie? She didn't tell you about Phenomaman. It created all this doubt. It created all this kind of hate and weariness. Weariness, I think is that even a word, of Blonde Blazer. So you were very cautious of her. So yeah, I think that's really cool. I think that's a really cool thing, and it kind of goes to show you how these developers can kind of mess with your mind a little bit and get the conversation flowing. I think it was done on purpose, and I think it was a good thing to do. But again, I wanted to touch upon that because the conversation of Blonde Blazer being evil was such a strong conversation when the game first released, and now it feels like that would have never happened. That makes no sense. But if you look at the facts, it feels like Adhoc kind of pushed you towards that a little bit, and then that big reveal never happened. And then when you got the comic, you realize what she actually meant. So very good. It's another way that Dispatch went against the norm. It's another way that Dispatch and Adhoc challenged the norm, because any other studio would have turned these two characters bad. Any other game would have made Phenomaman be a dickhead and Blonde Blazer be a liar. And they didn't do that. And I'm grateful for that.